Halo is well known for being the game that single-handedly sold the Xbox and turned it into the brand it is known as today. But while the game debuted as an Xbox exclusive FPS, the game itself was actually envisioned as a strategy game originally, at least until Microsoft bought developer Bungie and told them to focus their efforts on making it an Xbox FPS. But just how well did the change of perspective, and ultimately platform, work? And how does the PC version stack up? In Halo, you play as Master Chief, a badass in futuristic armor that is awoken from cryostasis as the Covenant attacks humanity. Why do they do that? Who cares? There's an excuse for you to suit up and kick ass. On a more serious note, the story is pretty cliché as the game puts humanity's very existence at stake and makes you the sole potential savior. It also suffers from a serious case of plot convenience, but the delivery is solid enough to keep it engaging. And if nothing else, Master Chief himself and some of the later twists save it, if just barely. Halo is a sci-fi first-person shooter and one of the first mainstream titles that took serious liberties with the time-tested formula. First of all, you can only carry 2 weapons at a time, but ammo, and if need be, other weapons are in enough supply that you aren't defenseless, and if nothing else, this adds a tactical element as you have to carefully choose what to wield. You can also melee enemies, and since some of them use shields, grenades will come in handy. You also need to pick up health kits if you suffered too much damage. But another twist is that you have a shield that recharges whenever you aren't under direct fire. All these deviations from the formula really add depth to the game, and the result is a satisfying experience as you both have to outsmart and outgun your foes. Unfortunately, later levels can take things too far in terms of how many enemies you'll need to fight, but it's still mostly a fun time thanks to smooth pacing. The biggest issue, however, is the game's repetitive level design. Many of the later levels require either backtracking to the beginning of the level or going through what seems to be endless corridors, and such moments tend to take away from the enjoyment, if only temporarily. In terms of enemies, you'll fight alien midgets and tough-ass aliens on the Covenant side, and a rather imposing army of parasites known as the Flood later on. In most shooters, particularly older ones, enemies are as dumb as a bag of hammers, yet here the AI is impressive by any standards. Your enemies won't just stand around waiting for you to pull the plug on them, they'll sidestep, try to flank, and throw grenades in your way, and as such, on-the-fly tactics are necessary. What's better is that the same applies to your AI squad mates. They're actually pretty good at using firearms and grenades, and sometimes even act in unexpected ways, though they're not invulnerable. Graphically, Halo is a bit underwhelming. Textures are a bit flat, models are somewhat blocky, and in general it feels a bit dated. Yet it doesn't look all that bad thanks to the amount of enemies and effects the game can display at any one time. The variety of environments, not to mention the great art direction, are also both impressive. Although small things like the unescapable mouse acceleration and the fact that animations are locked at 30 frames per second betray its console origins. But while the visuals are somewhat disappointing, the sound is just top notch. Corny dialogue aside, the music is absolutely brilliant. There's a good reason why Halo's soundtrack is consistently rated as one of the best. One of the most surprising things about Halo in general is just how easy it is to pick up and play. Despite no longer being sold officially, not only does it run out of the box, but Bungie has recently released a multiplayer patch for the game, and not only can you play on Game Ranger without worry, but there are plenty of servers left. Bungie's dedication is something uncommon, and since used copies can still be found, you should definitely try buying it if you can. Servers can be unreliable and the veteran community will kick your ass, but it's still good fun as long as you temper your expectations. While its impact on console gaming cannot be understated, Halo's PC release isn't quite as impressive. It's still very easy to see where all the praise is coming from, as the game itself is genuinely good, but when judged by the much less forgiving PC game standards, Halo is merely great rather than incredible. It's still a great game, and one that comes easily recommended, but again, as a PC game, it's simply a fun distraction rather than a new idol to build a shrine to.